You are now listening to Talk Your Jits podcast.
Welcome back to the Talk Your Jits podcast. This podcast is, as the name implies, all about jiu-jitsu. I'm your host, Lamar Smith. And before we get started, man, I would like to say this is the first episode of season 4 of Talk Your Jits podcast. I just want to give a shout out to everybody who's been supportive over the last year or a little bit over a year for the podcast. And we steady growing, and we're going to keep it moving. So stepping onto the mats today is a blue belt who trains at True Jitsu and also runs Beyond Martial Arts. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Reymoore Santos.
How you guys doing? Good to be here.
What's up, my brother? How's it going, man?
It's good. It's good. I have to say your background is the whole reason why I started martial arts.
Man, it's mine too, man. Mine too. This is like my little man cave, man. This is kind of like you said, it's a reminder of why I got started.
Was it Lord Zed, the bad guy for the
Power Rangers? Yep.
Yeah. That's such a sick helmet.
Yeah, dude, I'm a huge nerd, man, when it comes to like comics and Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles and everything. As you can see, just
that's awesome.
Over the years.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you, man. But first and foremost, man, I would like to show my appreciation by saying thank you for being a guest on, Talk Your Jits podcast today.
Hey, man, wherever I can show support to fellow martial artists is where I'm at. So I know I don't know you whatsoever. I'm not sure what we're bringing to the table. So I like that. I like to think that I just kind of, fellow martial artists, there's always that connection, regardless of whether you do jiu-jitsu, judo, taekwondo, boxing. We can all relate to the grind that it takes to grow. So I'm actually excited to see where this leads.
Yes, man. Without further ado, man, if you want to formally give an introduction, by all means, and let's hear about your jiu-jitsu journey so far.
Oh, man. So as far as jiu-jitsu go, I've been doing martial arts for 26 years. I started when I was 6. Started with taekwondo, and that's what I currently teach at Beyond Martial Arts. I opened my gym at 22. I was part of a franchise in taekwondo. Down in Burbank, California, moved up to Bakersfield, which is about an hour and a half north, and then and ran into Matt Baker, who runs True Jitsu. It was Bakersfield Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu first, and then he transitioned to True Jitsu. And first experience, I'm sure everyone's experience is somewhat similar, but I would like to think, I don't like to admit it, but doing taekwondo for 20 plus years, my grandmaster at the time, every time I asked if I should try it or if I should give it a try, he'd always try to spin it as if taekwondo was the end all be all, that it's got everything, it's a complete art. I drank the Kool-Aid. I drank the Kool-Aid. So I was like, yeah, you know what? When will I ever have to go to the ground? I can kick somebody. I was very much blinded. So I go into jiu-jitsu, again, Bakersfield Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the time. And prior to this, I have experimented with it. I was all over Los Angeles trying to find a gym. Been with 10th Planet. I did Legacy with Alberto Crane over there in LA. I think I trained a little bit with King Combat Sports, who was under Jean-Jacques Machado. So I was all over the place, dove deep into YouTube videos of this and that. And, it's it doesn't look that hard. Me being my 20-year-old self and big-headed and whatnot, I was like, I could do it. So I go into Matt Baker's, and blue belt 16-year-old girl. Little did I know it was Matt Baker's daughter. And I'm like, I can be faster than her. I'll move quicker than her. I'm stronger. Oh boy, 6 minutes never took so long. It was the longest 6 minutes of my life, and I remember like it was yesterday. So, you know, she falls in, she drops guard, or she's on her back, and I'm like, okay, I'll just pass. I'll move this way. I'll throw her legs over here. She catches me in a lasso guard. No, she starts with a spider guard.
Okay.
And I'm like, "Okay, this is new. I've never done this before." And I'm like,
Hmm.
"Okay, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know how to get out of it." And I think she throws either a triangle, takes my back somehow. I'm like, "All right, I won't let that happen again." That's at first minute. Second minute, she goes into a half. She does a spider lasso, and I'm like, "Oh, wait, this changed. I can't move." She ends up throwing her leg around. I don't know. I was in an arm bar next, and it was after that day. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna make sure I get good at this, good enough so this doesn't happen again." This was
Hmm.
back in 2015, 2016.
Hmm.
And I prioritize my gym, of course, first. If I ever could get the chance to get in, I do try to get in and you know, continue to level up. But that was my experience. And I don't know if it was because I was new to the gym and I wasn't so much a white belt, being the experience that I've had with just martial arts in general, being spatially aware of my
Hmm.
body and moving. So, I kind of had a head start, but nonetheless, it was the most humbling experience I've ever had, and I share that with everybody that, regardless of what you can always learn something from somebody. So that that
Yes.
that was
Yes.
my first experience, and ever since, I still pop by. I try to go in and get some work done, but I talk. She doesn't even remember. That's the worst part. This thing is engraved. This is engraved in the back of my head, like my what do they call it? The start to the supervillain arc. This is
Oh
my
yeah,
supervillain arc.
your villain origin story.
I'm gonna get her back. And I'm like, bro, she was 16 at the time, and so
It's
yeah,
like
that's where it all
that's
that's where
like
it all
this.
started for me.
Okay, that's what's up. But that just reminds me of like this the old Street Fighter movie, and it was a scene where Bison was like, uh, "This was like you remember this day as the worst day of your life. To me, it was just another Tuesday."
No,
So it's
damn.
like you got this thing stuck in your mind, like I got smoked, but to her it was just like, all right, you know.
Again, yeah, no, it was. I was like, "How is that?" And it was crazy because it crossed my mind. I'm like, well, there's another, the other ego that crossed through my head was like, I could beat her in a sparring taekwondo match. Like, it's not what we're doing though, dude. We're not doing that right now. Just take it, take it. Take your L tonight. Take your L, and you just grow. So, it was such a learning experience, and it's a very different background. I mean, I like
Yeah, yeah.
it's I can't say you can't say one's better than the other because it's like basketball and football, like two different sports. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I love that I'm able to take what I know and bring it there, and then what I learn, bring it back. It's like there's a lot of different things. I think that the most valuable thing that I learned in jujitsu that kind of helped me with some taekwondo, like in my taekwondo game, is not moving is a move. Sometimes just chilling out and just kind of waiting for an opportunity versus always trying to find something, or always going after something. And I tried that the first day and it
Mm-hmm.
didn't work out. So
Yeah,
yeah.
because that was gonna be my next question. Like, once because you're a blue belt now, so that means you've been doing it for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, what was that like transitioning from strictly doing taekwondo to now with jujitsu? Like, how more of a broad horizon has your view has gotten since then?
um I'd like to think that it's a huge wake up call in one's ego, like me as
Mm-hmm.
an instructor
Mm-hmm.
and teaching. Like, you have this, and I was young when I opened up and and doing it. So, like most 20-year-olds, you feel like a superhuman and on top of the world. I'm like, damn, like I didn't know anything back then. So me getting into jujitsu and having my you know, my dose of humble pie just makes me remember that you're forever a white belt, that you got to keep learning, that you got to make sure you know, just keep moving forward, keep making moves. Don't settle with what you can do, and continue to do things
Mm-hmm.
that are difficult to level up. I think that's where
Yeah.
my that's what I'd like to think that I've gained. I personally felt like I wish I would have been a white belt for a little bit longer. I've only done one
Okay.
tournament as a white belt in 2020 Jiu-Jitsu World League in Arizona. I did a tournament, and it was interesting, being that my taekwondo experience in the competitive world goes to an international level. In the states, regional, national tournaments, international tournaments. So going back as a white belt um, for a jujitsu tournament, it
Mm-hmm.
felt it kind of gave me a reminder of what my students might feel like going to a taekwondo tournament for the first time. So I was like, oh, this is what they feel like. Nonetheless, it was exciting. I wasn't. I
Uh-huh.
don't feel like I was nervous. It was more of like an excitement thing. But I also didn't really know the scoring rule set.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
I kinda went in there a little blind, just did what I did, and I think I lost on a tie, or he scored the last point. No, he was up, but I think you win the match if you score the the tie making point. Am I not Is that right? Not sure.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Not sure.
I don't know. I think that's what my coach told me.
Yeah.
I think that's what Matt told me. I was like, "Oh, okay, well, that would have been nice to know 20 seconds before the end of the match," you know? Um, but it was my first tournament. Took a silver or a bronze. I think I took a bronze. No, I took a silver. I took a silver and was promoted to blue belt the week or two after. I was like, "Oh, wait, I want to do one more as a white belt.
So just give me one more.
Just give me one more. Let me get a gold." And I kind of just that, you know, now I just haven't been to a tournament yet since, and that was back in 2020 or 2021. But intending to.
Okay. Okay. Good. 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 Yeah, it's fun. It's for one, I haven't really got a chance to talk to too many people that does or have done a martial arts before they did jujitsu. So I'm
Uh-huh.
always like being curious about how their views on like martial arts in general has changed once they started seeing another martial art. Because before I started training jujitsu, I've done some boxing, some karate, and stuff like that, and um, it never stuck to me like it did until I got to jujitsu.
Hmm.
And just like that first time, that humble experience where you go into a gym, you're thinking one thing, but the mat tells you something completely different. Like I go in, I roll with someone twice my age, and I
Yeah.
got like 50 pounds over, and they just wreck me. They
Yeah.
just run through me like I'm nothing. So it's like, what the hell is this? And then after a while, you started to train, and then you start looking at other martial arts, and you're like, oh, I started to see the similarities in
Hmm.
other martial arts and the way that we train jujitsu. And now that I look at, looking at martial arts through a different eyes, everything just seems like so new now.
Hmm.
Like, everything just seems so like different because I guess I got a better understanding of martial arts and like the body mechanics. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I see, I like that, or whatever. So
No, I
it's
feel you.
it's cool to see that.
It's like watching a movie for the second time. You're like, oh, I didn't
Yeah.
recognize that. Oh, that he said that instead of this. It's like you get that different perspective. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have so many different. I've been in martial art. I mean, this is the only thing I've done ever since I was 6. So from 6 to I'm now 31, 32 in March. I've only done taekwondo.
That's crazy.
I've done, I've taken boxing classes for a couple months. My dad was super into boxing because my uncle was, he was a pro boxer in the Philippines. Um,
Okay.
I've always had huge respect for Muay Thai. But I kind of, I wouldn't say I have a bitter feeling, but it's like whenever people talk about MMA and they're, giving credit to the kicks of Muay Thai, yet here's John Jones doing a back kick and giving all the credit to Taekwondo for
Yeah.
practicing it for 6 months. And it's not giving it that credit. As far as the culture side, like going into Taekwondo to Jiu-Jitsu, it's very are you familiar with like Korean culture?
More or less.
It's very, obviously it's got that discipline.
Yeah.
Respecting your elders, bowing onto the mats and speaking words of respect. When I went to my first jiu-jitsu gym and it was laxed, like I have this habit, and it's because ever since I was a young kid, every time I'm speaking to a senior, I finish my statement or my question with sir or ma'am. That's something that's drilled into me, whether I know you or not. That's something I'm going to say, yes sir, no sir. It's just part of the Taekwondo culture. Going into a jiu-jitsu gym, when I'm addressing the professor or the instructor or whatever, and I say sir, they're like, what the, stop sirring me. Like they want to be your friend. They want to be your, they want to be your friend, your family, and that's how they express themselves. They express themselves with a little more, it's a lot more casual. So to me, it was like I'm the type of student, or I've now become that type of student where you tell me tell me to jump, and I ask how high, type of deal. Like I don't question anything. I'm not saying why. It's just yes sir, get it done. Period. 100 push-ups. Yes, sir. There's no complaining or anything. You get it done, as I expect from my students when I'm teaching. But going into that jiu-jitsu world, very relaxed, and I think that's also just part of the, also the Brazilian culture. Just hang back, chill out. At least that's my experience. Even for my first tournament, the security guards are chill. The referees chill. Your opponents aren't as aggressive until the fight, So I think that was a big, I wouldn't say culture shock, just again,
I would say culture shock.
It was a little different of a perspective, which kind of gave me a lot more respect. And the funny thing too is everyone that I'm familiar with in the Taekwondo world, that are high level athletes, international players, world, U.S. national team for the World Games, Pan Am Games, and they're all doing jiu-jitsu now. And like we have a group chat where we're just going back and forth with, comparing the two, but also just appreciating everything we've learned and everything we're getting to learn. So it's a little extra thing that I wanted to mention, because that was it's interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, and you're not the only one. Since I've started training, I've been training under my instructor since I started doing jiu-jitsu. So a lot of things that you would consider culture shock, like the relaxed gym setting, and not really being formal. I never saw that. He's like one of my best friends. He's like a brother to me now. I talk to him like almost every day. So when I hear people ask that, like, how do you supposed to address someone going into a jiu-jitsu gym? And I'm thinking to myself, like,
what up, G?
By their name or whatever. What up? Yeah, what up, G? And when I started the podcast, and I did like an episode where I just kind of did like a brief little introduction to myself, and I was going to mention my instructor, but I'm like, I never called him that. I never said instructor Holston or professor Holston. I never said that. I just called him by his first name. So when I messaged him, I'm like, how do I introduce you? So he was by my name. I'm like,
by my name.
Like, I know that. So I'm like, I know that, but like, is it formal? He's like, I don't care about that. And but you do see some some martial arts schools and jiu-jitsu schools that are still like that. They kind of keep that tradition of the yes sir, no sir. I still bow on and off the mats, or I'm correct myself. I try to remember to bow on and off the mats. I try not to be that person just run off.
You're saying you don't bow when you enter your house?
No. I mean, that's what it feels like to me. Like it's my home, so I just go in, and just enjoy myself. So
right. I've had
but no, I didn't.
walking into a gas station convenience store and I bow. I'm like, God damn it! Like, I walk into a 7-Eleven, I bow. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Hey, you give me 20 years every day as a kid. That's all you know.
Force of habit, yeah.
I remember in elementary school, again, started when I was 6 and 9, 10, 3 years in, 4 years in, I remember bowing to my teacher. The funny thing is though, it's like because it was done so naturally, they felt like they had to do it too. I'm not sure if it's because I have an Asian appearance and they didn't want to offend me. So they're like, okay, hi. But it's just it's a habit. It's not something, and I don't think of martial arts, just diving deep into like the philosophy of things. I don't think martial arts is something that you do. It's who you are. It's what
that's
you
who you
become.
become. Yeah.
Right. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, as far as the students who get to the rank of black belts, you don't earn a black belt. You have become a black belt. Your decisions, and at least for me, the decisions that I make and what I do is directly affected based on whether or not it is good or representative of the black belt that I wear. So,
Yes.
that's it's a force of habit. It's something that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. I mean, yeah, it gets like that. Even like when I was used to working retail for so long, I have worked retail for like 16 years. I'm finally done working retail. But yeah, I got to the point where I would answer my own phone as if I'm at work. And it'd just be like, all right. Like what you said, it's like it's something you do every single day where it becomes second nature to you. So yeah, it's not uncommon to see like traditional martial artists do stuff like that where they bow walking in somewhere because it's like you said, it's a part of what you done every day. Mm-hmm. And same thing for me when it came to like working retail. Like I would be so used to answering the phone, saying something, I'll pick up the phone like, I'm like, hey mom, or something, But yeah, it's like that. But that's like I said, it's like that. It gets. Well, for one thing I learned about like jiu-jitsu and especially is this community is it can either go one or two ways. Either you're going to love this community or you're going to hate this community.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no matter how much I try to be like, well, maybe it's the person or maybe it's just that individual. But like, no, sometimes I hate to admit that like sometimes the jiu-jitsu community can be toxic because I've read or heard instances where like people got punished for the small stuff like that, like not bowing or not addressing their instructor a certain way, and it's like I get the tradition. Don't get me wrong, I understand the tradition, but at the same time, it's like, dude, Can
I share with you? Can I share with you my idea with that type of discipline though?
Yeah.
So I believe that the instructor and the student have a special relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
That relationship is I give you instructions and I don't want to call it blind loyalty, but I do believe that if you are given instructions, there shouldn't be any questions asked. You get it done.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of why you're on the mats, because you're trusting this person to guide you. I mean, if it's not that vibe, if you're not feeling it, obviously you go to a different gym, find a different instructor. Because I don't believe it's not so much what you're teaching or what you're learning, but who you're learning from. That is much more important than again what you're learning. So who you're learning from. So my idea is that if I can't trust you to follow these rules, if in combat or if you're in a tournament and I'm asking you I'm trying to coach you and you're not listening. If you can't bow on the mats when I'm telling you to do this, how are you going to do 3, 4, 5 steps in a row? Now that's going to the extreme of things, obviously. but I share that with my students. I let them know, like, what did they use martial arts back in the day before we went into firearms? Martial arts was to save your life. It was to preserve your life. It was so that if you go into combat, you held yourself in a way where you can trust your training. So if your
Mm-hmm.
training was lax, and again, we live in a time where that's not the situation, but if you're in combat and you don't have that discipline to do the little things that are more important or that may not seem important even, then how can I trust you to walk off the battlefield with your life? So it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
understand why that type of discipline is important.
Mm-hmm.
But now in this day of age, we're kind of like, we're just using it to make sure we could get through the day um, in the most positive way possible.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my idea on it. Is it right? Is it wrong? It's up to the individual and how you want to develop as a student. Um,
Yeah.
but to have them do 1,000 push-ups for not bowing on the mat might be a different story.
Yeah, right.
You want to get
I
that
mean,
light? It seemed like it came down.
yeah. I think it just died. Yeah, I think it's just dead. I'm not gonna worry about it.
All right.
Yeah, I ain't gonna worry about it. We're still rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know you say your school beyond martial arts is
Mhm.
your main priority, which is understandable. So
Right.
how often do you get to train jujitsu?
I haven't been on the mats for a while. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
But I try to get in once a week on Wednesdays. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if the mats at my studio are covered, I'll try to get in there. I love jujitsu. I don't 5 a.m. love jujitsu. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, that's my
I
realm.
love
That's my
I
realm.
love
That's
I
my
love
realm.
jujitsu. I don't love it like a 5 a.m. class though.
Gotcha.
Um,
Gotcha.
I
But
mean
that's
I'm not a morning person. I'm not. I I come to like I woke up this morning at 5:30 and I was like I'm gonna kick the bag, get to my workout, run my 2 miles, and then I closed my eyes and it was 7:30 and I'm like dang it. Uh yeah, that's where I'm
man.
at on that one.
Oh, that's and it's what's weird is I hate being a morning person, but I kind of became a morning person, just because of my, I got my kids, I have my wife to take care of, so
Yeah.
a lot of traveling. So it's like, okay, I eventually became that morning person because I was like, if I want to go to the gym and train, and go to like, work out like I want to, I have to go in the mornings. So
Yeah.
it was like, after a while, that kind of became my thing. Is as much as I hate getting up early in the morning,
Yeah.
I'm up in the mornings.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of piggybacking off of what you said about you running the school and training,
Yeah.
it's so hard to try to be that instructor and student,
Uh-huh.
because we had to kind of relocate and open up a new spot. And that was kind of like our thing for like the past year, where me and another fellow student had became like instructors, and we had to like, teach teach the rest of the students.
Yeah.
And we just be like, dude, like we need to find a way, that balance, man. Cause we're
Mhm.
so, going in, okay, what are we going to teach today? What are we going to teach today? What are we going to teach today? And when it comes to like open master stuff, we're starting to notice that our game is declining.
Yep.
And it's just
Yep.
like, man, and it was like, oh, what is going on? But then we kind of like stepped back and looked at it. I was like, because we really aren't training. We're more so teaching than training. Like we'll
Yeah.
do the technique, but mainly the time we're not repping with these guys. We're walking around
Yeah.
making sure that everyone is understanding the technique. And then after, a couple months, I'm noticing like, I'm not moving like I used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, is it because the guys are getting good? Of course, but at the same
Everyone's getting
time,
good.
while they're doing this, I'm just this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just trying to find that balance of like, hey, when can I not be a teacher? When can I be a student? When I'm going to be able to time to have, I was like you said, okay, can I find someone to cover my class for today so I can, do something
Mhm.
else and whatnot. So trust me, man. I understand. Like as much as I love training and love jujitsu,
Uh-huh.
I don't get to train as much as I want to.
What's so I mean the development from white belt. You know what? That's maybe a conversation we could dive into.
Mm-hmm.
From someone who's seen Taekwondo transform. So I started Taekwondo in '99, and back in the day, they used to use electronic chest protector. Or no, they didn't use electronic chest protectors. They were using the chest protector. They had a helmet. Um, Gloves were optional. Foot pads were even
Mm-hmm.
optional. But
Oh wow.
what happened would be, judges would be scoring the matches as they would happen. For jiu-jitsu, there's only one person judging the score, right? The person in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So Taekwondo has evolved into this sport and is now an Olympic sport where it has changed the game. And
Mm-hmm.
I think you see that in jiu-jitsu as well, where people transition from jiu-jitsu being such a practical art and putting yourself in positions that if you were to transition into competition may be detrimental to winning the match. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with taekwondo. Taekwondo has come into a place where, and I think it was funny, I was watching a video that Hoist Gracie was in, where he mentioned that taekwondo used to be a devastating martial art where you would kick people's heads off. And now it's
Mm-hmm.
become a sport where it's like tappy tap with the
Tappy
foot
tap,
and
yeah.
touching.
Touch,
Yeah.
yeah. Point fighting and stuff
So
like that. Mm-hmm.
exactly. So it's transitioned to that point. Um, so when it comes to jujitsu, I've also noticed that there are some gyms that are more competitive based versus the practicality based, where in where you would give up 2 points, you're looking for a submission or a better control or a way to attack.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas other schools are just looking for how to score the most amount of points with the least amount of steps possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So seeing this transition, it's almost as if, from my point of view, Taekwondo has been, it used to be a powerhouse of a combative sport back in the '90s, maybe even as late as as early as the '80s. And I'm looking at jiu-jitsu, where the transition, it's almost as if jiu-jitsu is almost, I would say, 20 years behind taekwondo in that process, because
Mm-hmm.
taekwondo has evolved so much and got into electronics, got to the Olympics, and now is a very popular sport in that end. Jiu-jitsu is growing in that same pace,
That same format, yeah.
in that
Uh-huh.
same format. So
Uh-huh.
I'm actually curious what happens when it gets to this level. Does it become, are there's going to be traditionalists? I'd like to consider myself an old school player in the game of taekwondo,
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I kick hard and I kick with that intent. But then you have these players who are also just knowing how to touch you the right way when it comes to that match. Um, well, did you ever get into competitions yourself and like notice that yourself, like that the game plan has been changing?
Not per se in like, seeing tournaments, but I've been to a couple tournaments, I've been in a couple tournaments, and just talk to my instructor, because he's been doing martial arts probably just as long as you, if not more. And so that's one thing that he will always kind of point out with, especially with jiu-jitsu, because the way we train is traditional jiu-jitsu. We train to protect ourselves. We're pure into the martial art, not the sport. We think we practice the martial art, but we think street. So that way,
Right.
If we're out, in the, obviously in the street, I know how to protect myself, because you do hear stories of like, like jujitsu black belt was, got beat up, or a guy got beat up at the bar, and then come to find out he's a jujitsu black belt. But
Right.
to the naked eye, you thinking black belt, he knows his stuff. But like you said, you have that competitor at, you have that school that's just like strictly competitive people, where they're just moving to transition and not necessarily go for submissions. They're more so racking up the points versus actually learning the martial art to go for the quote unquote kill. And that's where it differentiates. Like you said with Taekwondo, you're more so like, if I'm going to kick this guy in the face, he's not going to have a face.
Yep.
Whereas in the sports wise, like I'm going to lightly tap him, or I can get disqualified for kicking too hard.
Yeah.
I don't teach that way, and I don't learn that way. I know I've learned way, the way of if someone's trying to hurt me, I must kill them. Not let me tap them or let me subdue them enough to hopefully they stop. Because in the streets, they're not going to stop. They're not going to tap my shoulder. I'm going to let them go. Like, no, I want to get a hold of something. I want to break something. I want to protect myself. I want to protect my family. I want to protect my kids, so on and so forth. So, yeah, I see it. I see it a lot where people like, okay, yeah, I do jujitsu, but it's a sports aspect. And then it's not like, all right, dude, I get it. You do jujitsu, but you're not practicing the martial art. You're doing the sport of jujitsu, not the martial art of jujitsu.
And I think that's another thing that crosses my mind as well. And why it's important to find a good gym. The idea that you could possibly change somebody's life in jujitsu by accident, to me is kind of like, oh, like, and again, I would say I'm still early on in it, but looking at everyone else who practices as well, there isn't a brown belt or a black belt that I know that doesn't have some type of injury due to jujitsu.
Yes.
I'm I'm kind of curious. So like I'm not trying to brag, but I started getting cauliflower ear in my blue belt, like once I got my blue belt, because I started to be a little tighter. I kind of understood how to get a little bit closer, but I was like, wait, hold on. I'm not getting paid for this.
Yeah.
I'm not liking this stuff. Like it's cool and all. And some people wear it as a badge. I have one of my students' parents is doing doing jujitsu. He got his blue belt. And this guy looks like he's been doing it for like decades. Like he's got the ear going on. I'm like, are you?
No, thank you.
Like, yeah, he was like, he was holding it with some pride. I'm like, that's cool. Not for me though. I'm like, I'm looking for I'm still aiming for some symmetry,
I know. So I'm trying to keep the little good looks I got, man. Like,
exactly.
No, as long as I've been trained in martial arts, I've been lucky to say I've avoided cauliflower ear. I thought I almost had it. We were rolling one day in class, and they had me in like a technical mount or small package, some schools call it, and he goes to turn, and his knee grind across my ear, and I was just like, nope. Because it started, it just felt hot. I was like, nope. He's like, did I hurt you? I said, no. You just grind across my ear. Nope, I'm done. Nope. I don't want cauliflower ear.
When I started to get here, and I don't know much about it, so I started getting it at the top side here, and I didn't know what needle to use or what size gauge of a syringe. So I got a syringe. I think I ordered on Amazon or something, and it was it was like 00 or something tiny. Where when I put it in my ear and I try to pull it out, I got nothing. Like the gauge was too small, and then I ended up getting magnets. Like I was doing everything possible to get this thing done, other than go to the hospital or go to the emergency room and get it done.
Of course, I was
like, I can get it done. And they were like, surgery? Nah, I'm good. I'm just keep pressing it.
I know, right? Just icing it. Yeah, like I'm not gonna say like not all high level competitors are like like we were saying like the sport or pure martial artists of it or whatever. But yeah, I've gotten so many injuries since I've started jiu-jitsu. Like my elbow is done. Like I jammed my left hand in the most awkward way possible. Guy was in my guard, and I was pushing at his hips, and he turned some way, and my pinky was like, I thought it could have been a wrist lock, but my hand was like I guess it was too far in to where it caught the top of my fingers, and my pinky went back. So it's just like that hurts. Like my knee, ankle, toe, like it's all just everything hurts every single day.
Yeah, I've done Taekwondo for 26 years. I've done Jiu-Jitsu since 2015, on and off. I would say I'd account my training for about maybe 3 years total. And I've been doing it for, what is that? Almost 9. I started 9 years ago, but only 3 years worth of training, more or less. Probably less. Definitely less. And in that time frame, I've had more injuries than I've ever had in any of my Taekwondo experience. And that goes for like, I've been kicked in the head. I've been kicked in the face. I've been kicked low. I've been kicked in the leg,
Uh-huh.
but none of which were severe enough to keep me off the mats. Like I could go in the
Yeah.
next day, I'll be fine. But jujitsu, I think I was. I think I was going with, and again, being a smaller guy, it's just more. It feels like it more likely happened to me because I'm always the smallest guy. I'm walking around 135. I 135, 125.
Mm-hmm.
Small frame, 5'5". So every jiu-jitsu gym I go to, I'm at least 30 pounds lighter than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I had somebody's back, and he rolled forward, and he was like 180. I think he crushed my rib in a way. I was like, oh man, like we weren't even like, it's just like why like why are
Yeah.
we doing this, man? So I'm actually very selective with who I roll with. If I roll with a big guy, I
Gotta
know
be.
they're gonna be nice, and we're learning. We're not gonna compete. I
Yeah.
don't care whether you're better than me or not. It's just I want to learn. And bringing up that you're on that martial art side, like that's how I want to see it. I want to take it as the art form. I want to learn it
Yeah.
as the art form. I want to learn it as
Yeah.
just even if it doesn't work in a competition, I don't care.
Yeah.
I want to see the magic in what you can
Mm-hmm.
learn. That's
Yeah.
what I'm in it for. That's kind of what got me in the first place.
Definitely. Because when I started doing jujitsu, it was kind of one of those things where I knew little to nothing about jujitsu. Of course, everyone knows the name Hoist Gracie. If you ever watched any form of UFC or mixed martial arts back then, you kind of knew about the name. So when I started training, I was like, okay, this is something different. I just started doing my research on it, and then after a while, man, it just became one of like those things I was just so hooked on because it was just like it seemed like no matter what, there was always something new to learn.
Yeah,
and it was just like I can see this one move 1,000,001 times, but at each belt rank, it looks so different.
It changes. I think it's interesting that the one move that you can do, you can invert it, you can reverse it, and then you can still learn how to counter it. And then you can learn that on both sides and from different transitional periods. So it's like you said, you can see that one move 1,001 different ways. But there's also, even if it's that one move that you can see different ways, it can also be done also different ways. So it goes into this whole matrix of whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's very fascinating.
Because we had open mat Saturday, and I was going over some things with a couple of the newer guys, and we were talking about like submissions, like basic submissions they should learn. So we were talking about arm locks, Kimura, Americana, so on and so forth. And I was showing them the Kimura from side control, and I said, what's so unique about this move is I can almost hit this from any position. And so he was like, what do you mean? I was like, okay. So I guy was in my guard, and I was like, do you think I can hit a Kimura from this position? He's like, nah. I was like, why not? He's like, because it's not on the ground. He's not this. I'm like, no, watch this. Watch it. What's the mechanics of a Kimura? Elbow bent, elbow up, hand down. If he's in my guard, he's in that same position. It doesn't change. The mechanics doesn't change. Just my position changed, but the mechanics still stay the same. But that's some stuff that's the stuff that you kind of know. I mean, you learn over time. I was like, this one Kimura that I just showed you from side control, I can hit from any other position. And it may change to something else a little bit, but in the same, it's still a Kimura. I can turn it into a sweep. I can turn it into control. I can turn it into, I can do it as a submission. I can do it as a transition, so on and so forth. It's just how you apply it, when you're working. But that, once again, that comes with time, and that just comes with, repetitions of learning what you're doing, and also being caught in it 1,000,001 times too.
So, I obviously have so much to learn still, right? But I've noticed there are some things that I can't do that you can do. Just body frame itself. Like I don't feel like me who's rolling with someone who has 50 pounds up, maybe even 30 pounds. And I've tried, I've messed around with it, trying to get an omoplata on people. I think I'm doing it right. I'll secure the hip, I'll hip out, I'll try to flatten them out, but that extra 30 to 50 pounds that they have on me, where they just posture up, and I've I've been ragdolled. I'd have people like this, they're like this, I'm on the arm, and they will throw their arm. Again, I might be doing it wrong. I don't know. I'm still learning. But they'll posture up, throw me that way, and I end up in front of them. Like they'll just like a bowling ball, I'm like, okay, it's either I'm never doing this move again with someone bigger than me, or I'm doing something wrong. And the same thing goes for like the Kimura, It may be that I'm doing it wrong, but when I get it with a bigger guy, I just, at this point, I just stop doing arm attacks and just go for chokes, because it's so much easier for me to apply the pressure in the position that I'm in without being overpowered.
Yeah.
But I mean, is that a thing? Is it?
Oh no, that's definitely a thing.
Or is it definitely just my size?
No.
Okay.
It's just it's not a you thing, and that's what I love about like jujitsu, because you can contest to this. Like when it comes to like striking in taekwondo, you have your specific set of kicks. That kind of kick. If I can get my leg, if I can train myself enough to be able to do this kick, I can do this kick. But when it comes to like jujitsu, all that stuff kind of plays a difference between, the body sizes. Like,
right.
Yeah, I may be able to hit a certain arm lock. You can't, because I'm wider than you, or my arms are longer, or their shoulders are broader. All that stuff comes into factor. Like I can teach someone a Kimura, like you said, the omoplata, or some type of whatever, but it's going to change depending on if Ray do it, if Lamar do it, if you're, the person's third day in do it. It's all going to be different. So it's not you. So don't make it feel like it's you. It's definitely
those people with the short legs and trying to hit those triangles.
Exactly.
Or the big size against someone with a big shoulder.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I see what you mean. Okay.
Because because my instructor, he's a big guy, big tall guy. So he's like, he can hit a triangle, but he said when I roll with guys bigger than me, I can't necessarily, triangle my legs. So I have to do something different. So instead of going for the triangle, you just, intertwine your feet, pull the head down, straighten your legs out. It's still a choke, but it's just a small variation depending on how long your legs are. For me, I can't hit a traditional triangle. I got to go for the, the alternative. Because my legs are short.
Yeah.
Or the guys I usually roll with are wider than me. So like, for example, we were going over head and arm choke, and this the arm is here, arm comes around, yada yada yada. But my brother, he's a wide guy. He's wider than he's wide. His shoulders are like this, and his arms are like, he has extra long arms too. I can't hit a traditional head and arm choke on him. I have to do it as a variation. Like I have to literally like almost become parallel to him to sink that choke in. Not saying that it's wrong. It's just what works for our body types.
Yeah.
So
okay. That makes sense then. Yeah. Just stay away from the big guys. I should just stop rolling with big guys. And
one thing I love to tell people, in which I do, if you ever seen, was it the first Born? Was it Born Identity? I think it was.
I haven't seen any of it.
There was a scene. Okay, well, I'm going to say it's Born Identity because I think it was. But there was a scene where Jason was talking to, I can't remember her name, and he doesn't remember who he is. But he was explaining how, he's like, I don't know who I am, but I can tell that guy over there, if I had to fight him, this is how I would do it. And it was weird, but now when you train so much, that kind of becomes a thing. Not saying that you can beat up everybody in the world. But you're like, you'll try to figure out how to handle someone. Like if me and you were going, like, okay, I know I'm bigger than Ray, I'm stronger than Ray, but I know Ray is faster than me. So I'm not going to necessarily match speed for him. I'm going to try to slow him down and not give him my back. Because I know what my game is and I know what is my weaknesses. So like if someone's smaller than me get my back, I'm going to be in trouble. So my job is to not let you get my back and to slow you down.
If you meet me in the street, I am running really fast the other direction, or I am picking up the closest object to me and swinging it as hard as I can. I'll tell you that.
Of course. I know. In a perfect world, we're saying like it's
But if
like
you're on
we
the mat,
both
I get what
agreed
you're
to
saying.
knuckle up, right? But if we're in the
Yeah.
street, no, I'm grabbing everything.
How many times have you been asked that question? Hey, what do you think is better? I'm like, well, it's not what's better. It's who's more capable.
Yeah,
Because
I get that.
it's
I mean,
such a
as an
funny
instructor,
thing.
you get that a lot. You get
Oh
that a
yeah.
lot. Like, oh, what technique works better? This or this? I'm gonna say neither. Is what works best for you.
Yeah.
I don't go for all type of. I don't go. I'm not necessarily proficient in leg locks. Not saying I don't go for them, but
Mhm.
I would rather not. I'd rather attack what I can
I've
or what I
had
know how to
some
attack.
I've had some dancers or ballerinas or gymnasts who's come in. I'm pretty sure you may account for this because as you said, you're an instructor as well. When you get those
Mm-hmm.
new students who have that background in something as athletically demanding like ballet, dance, gymnastics, and you see the strength that they have with their body, I would say the most effective martial art background to start off with would be gymnastics. Because these kids
Mm-hmm.
that I have come in, their leg control, the familiarity that they have with their body is so incredible that anything that you show them, they'll be able to do. If you ever
Yeah.
get someone who's just like kind of new to anything and they try it out, obviously they have that disadvantage of not having that coordination. Um, but having someone with that type of background come in and just absorb everything you have as a sponge is it's like so satisfying as an instructor. I think
Yeah.
I think when it comes to that, I've actually explained that to some parents because they'll ask me. A lot of the dads will come up to me and be like, "So, what do you think? Jiu-jitsu is better than this, or judo is better than that, or boxing is the best?" I'm like, you know what? I can get someone who has a ballerina background and give me a month with them. They will mess kids up.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
what they're capable of learning and what they're able to do. So,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
among other
I
things.
tell people. I mean, if I when I get asked that question of what should they do outside of just jujitsu, wrestling and gymnastics
Hmm.
are two of the things. Like if you got that under your belt with while you're learning jiu-jitsu, you're gonna be a mess to deal with before you even know it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
though, because I see, I get we get wrestlers that come in and we're not talking about, or like we're talking about like, oh, I wrestled at Valley. So, I wrestled
Hmm.
at a big school, or, my family's from here and we're like, family of wrestlers. And it's like, all right. But yeah, wrestling and gymnastics, man, is if you can understand the mechanics of your body and how to manipulate and control it, oh man, you're eons ahead of anybody that walks through that door.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
Eons.
100%. I agree with
It
that for
just
sure.
makes my job so much easier because I
Oh
don't
yeah.
have to like explain to you how to use your body because you know how to use your body.
Oh, so one more question I have for you too.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a martial arts school owner, right?
Uh-huh.
I've noticed a huge. I'm curious if it's going to happen in the future too. Again, talking about what I mentioned before with Taekwondo being a little, um, having that limelight a little bit longer than Jiu-Jitsu had, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taekwondo right now, it attracts a lot of the kids, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
at least my program, because our program's a little more focused on the life skill education for children. So when parents want their kids to come in and learn focus, discipline, um, have that sense of structure, they look out for my school. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Adults don't look like it doesn't seem like adults are looking for the same thing. Adults don't really want to be disciplined. They don't want to.
No.
They want to learn that practicality of martial arts. They want to learn how to defend themselves. And when people say self defense, to me, it's like such a broad term. Um, but the ratio to like kids to adults, it's like for every one adult student, we have 20 kids. Like, and I've
Mm-hmm.
noticed a lot with jujitsu gyms itself. It's like they don't have such a big youth program, but their adult program and maybe even the women's class is huge. Like the ratios flip. I mean, how are you guys more on like the kid side or the the adult side? And on top of that question, which one's easier to teach?
Right now we don't have a kids program. We just get in the flow of starting our own program and where we at now. But I've seen it the other way around where you have 50 kids and like 12 adults. You know, a lot of the school owners that's been on the show, they've all said it, and I've heard it millions and one times before, where kids class pays the bills. Because you get a lot of kids that want to come in, and I say it a jokingly way, but it's kind of true. Where jiu-jitsu has become the new soccer sport, where your kids, the moms are trying to put their kids into some kind of sport, and it seems like jiu-jitsu is like the new soccer thing, where it's like get your kids out there, and you got kids that's like at tournaments crying. They don't want to do that, but they have to because their parents, sign them up because they want them to learn and get better. And to answer the second question about who's teaching to teach easier, kids. Correction, girls are easier to teach.
I can't disagree. I can't disagree. The girls will be giving the boys a hard time just until 10, 11, 12. And then when the boys start to hit puberty, 12, 13, 14.
That strength comes out of nowhere, yeah.
They start thinking with their head a little more,
Right.
They start to actually understand.
Because we got because I teach boxing too, and we got kids that comes to the class, and I have my daughter who trains with me, and this one boy he was like hitting the bag, he's just tearing the bag up, just throwing punches, punch. So we were working on focus mitts, and my daughter was just going, me and her work out together, so she knows the like little in and out of boxing, and this kid is just looking at her like. How did she do all that? I was like, because it's called practice. It's called paying attention in practice.
It's called focus, kid.
It's called focus, kid. Right? It's called focus, kid. But I see that a lot though. Like kids are easy to train because they have you don't have to unteach bad habits. Because sometimes if you do get adult students, is either they're new or they trained somewhere before. So it's like, oh, okay, we got to break those bad habits of what you did at your old school. And, hopefully you can grow here, because if you leave in the school, that kind of raise a little red flag of like, okay, unless you moved, what was the reason why you left your old school?
Right.
But yeah, that can, that's a whole nother conversation. But
that's
to me, kids are easier to teach, if you ask me.
Okay, cool. Appreciate that. Nice.
Yeah. Well, all right, Ray. Well, we got a question we ask everybody that comes on the show.
Okay.
I know you haven't been training too long, but I know if you're familiar with the sport. But past or present, man, the top 3 people you would love to get a chance to roll with.
Oh, wow. Okay. Top 3 people?
No particular order, just your 3 top people you would like to roll with.
I know I watched so many of this guy's videos. I think he's a huge influence because of the body frame that he has and the technicality. Is it Marcelo Garcia?
Marcelo Garcia.
Marcelo Garcia would be one. I'm not too familiar with the names. I don't want to, and I'm picking people who were like an influence on me before I even did the sport. Like I was watching these guys who were like, oh wow, that's cool. It was another set of brothers. The last name started with a V.
A V?
Yeah. They were very dynamic too. I'd have to look them up. But
it starts with a V.
Possibly. I may be wrong.
Okay.
They were the guy would be, cartwheel passes and jumps and turn, like these guys were they made jiu-jitsu look fun. Like that's kind of why I wanted to.
Unless you talk about the Rotolo brothers.
Not the Rotolo brothers.
Okay, not the Rotolo brothers.
These were like a decade ago.
Okay. All right, that's a good one. Like,
Anyways,
brothers,
I'm not
yeah.
sure. I think it might have been a V, might have been an R. It's but they were very dynamic, and that's why I like watching them. And then I'd say Jeff Glover.
Yeah, Jeff Glover's good.
I like Jeff Glover's I like his style. I like
Mm-hmm.
his laid back again, I'm as a martial artist, I I like to see the creativity of things. So when I see something that's
Mm-hmm.
different, when I see something that's against the grain and making it work,
Mm-hmm.
um it's cool to see that. And I think he's one of those type of guys who did things that other people weren't doing, if I'm
Yeah.
not if I'm not mistaken. At least that's what I got. Um
Mm-hmm.
I think I just could give you two. The
That's okay. That's okay. That's
the third
okay.
one I'm
That is
not sure.
okay. That's okay,
But
dude.
yeah. And again, Jeff Glover not being, you know, jacked out of his mind. He's an average looking guy. But when you
Love
see
it.
his frame, his stature, same thing Marcelo Garcia, you see him just average looking guy. 150 pounds
Yeah.
maybe. And little do you know he'll tie you in a knot. So I like that.
That's what I love about it, man. Because like when it comes to jiu-jitsu, you don't know who knows jiu-jitsu. It
Oh,
could be
those
like the
assassin
average,
the assassin nerds.
silence to silence. It could be like the most smallest guy in the room, and it's like you think he's just some normal guy, but he probably can kill everybody in here.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are the most dangerous.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, that's great, man. Unless you got any more questions for me, man, fire away. If not, let the people know where they can reach you. Shout out your schools and let the people know what's going on. The floor is all yours, sir.
All right. Well, I appreciate the time. Um, it was great getting to pick your brain, see and hear your perspective on things. Reymoore Santos is you guys can find me on Instagram, Beyond Martial Arts in Bakersfield, California. True Jitsu out here in Bakersfield, California. They got 2 locations as well. So if you're ever in the West Coast area and you're driving up from LA to San Francisco, you need a pit stop, let me know. Hit me up. Um, I got this is all I do. So if you guys want to do a morning session here or an afternoon session, as long as it's not during the classes, we are good. But if you guys want to follow and see the kicks that I'm throwing, Reymoore Santos on Instagram, got a Facebook too. So again, Lamar, appreciate you, sir. This was fun.
Man, thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate you being the first episode of season 4 and answering the call to be on the show, man. I greatly appreciate it. And I will, we'll definitely keep up. We're brothers now, so we're friends on Facebook. So we'll definitely keep in touch, man.
Now, if I'm ever up in Michigan, I think there's a taekwondo. Like I said, there was a taekwondo school there that I wanted to meet up with. So you said Michigan?
Yep, Detroit. Yep, Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit, Michigan. Okay.
Yep.
I'm sure I can find a reason to get out there.
Man, whenever you are, just let me know, man. Just let me know. I got you.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you, man. And that's the end of today's episode. I would love to thank Reymoore one more time for coming on the show and blessing us with his knowledge. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and all other social medias. This has been Talk Your Jits Podcast. Keep rolling, keep grinding, and remember, long live Jiu-Jitsu. Have a great day.